Hello again, Guyana, and welcome to the Public Interest. I am Malika Ramsey. Thank you very much for joining us this week. This week's edition focuses on infrastructural development, and of course infrastructural development in terms of linking the hinterland to the coastland. As always with us is the President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, His Excellency, Brigadier David Granger. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Malika.
And joining us this week are two journalists. I begin by introducing the female. Of course, she's Miss Beverley Alert from the Government Information Agency, GINA. Welcome, Beverley.
Thank you.
And of course, welcome to Mr. Kurt Campbell from News Source. Welcome, Kurt.
Thanks, Malika.
Right, it's great to have you both. Your Excellency, the previous administration obviously had ample time to link the hinterland to the coast. They either refused to or they just did not know how to do that. What will your government do with this new administration, obviously? What will your government do with specific focus on infrastructure to bridge that gap that there is between the hinterland and the coast?
Well, I do not believe that development of the country is possible without improved infrastructure. So it is a central focus of this administration. We spoke about it while we were in opposition, and we intend over the next 5 years to link Guyana both east-west in terms of completing that important link between Lethem and Linden, and also north-south as far as possible between Bartica and Anai, or even further north, as far north as the Brema-Waini region. I do believe that within maybe 5 or 10 years, people in Mabaruma must be able to reach people in the southern part of Guyana. Right now, the Rupuduni, which is our largest region, about the size of Costa Rica, has no all-weather roads. And whenever there is a flood or sometimes extreme drought, the infrastructure suffers. Bridges get broken or sometimes burnt. And it's very difficult for the farmers to get the produce to market. So the Rupununi is our main concern, and getting that Lethem-Linden highway is top priority. We also have to bridge the Essequibo River at Kurupakari and look after other infrastructure if we are to get development going. The richest part of the country has got the worst infrastructure. So if we are to extract those riches, we need that infrastructure. That's the long and short of our policy.
Before I give the other journalists a chance, how do you expect that development to influence or to benefit those of us living on the coast?
Well, we will have access to, as I said, the richest part of the country. If you're interested in gold mining, if you're interested in tourism, ecotourism particularly, if you're interested in timber extraction, if you're interested in manufacturing, you've got to get to the hinterland. These are not things that are present on the coastland. So it will have a major impact. It will be transformative, in my view, to have good infrastructure in the hinterland.
All right, thank you, sir. Ms. Alert, your turn.
Thank you, Malika. Mr. President, first, thank you for this opportunity. In these projects, sir, in the budget, for instance, there's 600 million for infrastructure development, the roads in the hinterland, 79.5 for airstrips, 50 million for studies, the Guyana-Brazil road link, and others. Sir, has your government prepared time scales by when you want to see these projects come to fruition?
The budgetary allocation by the Guyana government is inadequate. We have to have foreign funding. There's no way we can generate the type of money that would be needed for the infrastructure. We're talking about studies, you're talking about maintenance work, but if we are to have a major highway between Linden and Lethem, we need to get foreign direct investment. Similarly, the north-south road, if we're going to build anything from Mabaruma, from Region 1, going all the way down to Region 9, you have to get foreign investment. So what you see in the budget is really exploratory and preparatory. I wouldn't feel that we can finance the type of infrastructure we need from local resources. There's got to be foreign investment.
Thank you.
And well, they asked how we do it. That is what we're doing. That is why I was in Saudi Arabia. That's why I'm meeting people from around the world to get them interested in hinterland infrastructure development.
Thank you for adding that part.
Mr. President, good morning again. If I could give some attention to the coastland. The previous government had in trail a plan to link the East Bank corridor and the East Coast corridor with a road. Could you say what is this new government's approach to that plan?
Well, we know of that plan. It is still on the table, but in my view, at the rate of accumulation or accretion of the motor cars or other vehicles on the roads, you will probably exhaust that option very soon. My calculation, there are about 1,000 new vehicles on the roads every month. And we feel that consideration should be given to having a light rail instead of having another road. You put another road, it will be congested in no time at all. You expand the present East Bank Demerara corridor, and it's going to be congested. So we are looking at a light rail, maybe between some point on the East Coast, for example, Ogle, and Timeri International Airport, which will only take passengers, school children, and individual persons. It wouldn't carry cargo, and leave the present East Bank Highway for cargo carrying vehicles. So that's what we're looking at. Although we are aware of the plan to link the East Coast with the East Bank, we feel that there are grounds for considering an alternative, and I prefer light rail.
Well, if I could just ask a follow-up to that question. I'm glad you answered the question in that way, because my next question would have been concerning the traffic congestions, particularly in the morning and the evenings, along the East Coast and along the East Bank heading into the city.
There is a bottleneck. There are far too many vehicles on the road. We don't have any plan to ban vehicles, but we have a notion, I can call it now, because there's no firm plan to have light rail. And I do believe that there must be a review of our attitudes to public transport. People must get accustomed to the big buses, they must get accustomed to rail if we are to solve these problems. Right now, there are just too many cars, too many minibuses, too many bicycles, too many motorcycles, all competing for limited space. And that is a contributory factor to our accidents. Similarly, if I can just add,
sure,
we've got to deal with the bridge problem. You saw what happened a few nights ago. We need to get a proper bridge which can take that traffic. If you have ever tried to travel to the West Bank, Demerara, during rush hour, it's one-way traffic, and if there's an accident, there's no-way traffic.
Mr. President, you mentioned Mabaruma. Port Kaituma in particular is a hub for travel to neighboring Venezuela, somewhat uncontrolled. Does your government plan to establish an international port somewhere along the Region 1 area?
We intend to have, in due course, every regional administrative center as a port of entry. For example, Bartok is a port of entry, Lethem is a port of entry. Mabaruma, I'm not quite sure what is the legal status, but I would prefer to have Mabaruma as a port of entry. I know that at the Mabaruma Airdrome, once I was there and one person was talking Russian, another was talking French, another was talking Spanish. So a lot of people enter through those ports of entry. And yes, I intend that every regional administrative center should be a port of entry, which means that people can get their passports, people can enter and do business. I cannot say at this point in time whether I think Port Kaituma would be an ideal place. It's a bit of a frontier town right now.
Thank you, sir.
You were allowed to follow up, Beverley.
No, I wanted to go into another related issue.
Go ahead, yes.
Opening up communities, sir, will definitely bring social problems, especially with relation to protection of women, protection of our girls. First Lady has already spoken on the need to protect our girls. How do you intend, or your administration intend, to address that problem once we start this massive opening up of communities?
Well, the problem has arisen already because many persons from different nationalities, gold miners, traders, and other business persons have been coming into the country. And it's no secret that there are some problems in some hinterland indigenous communities. There's got to be better policing. And I've had meetings with the Commissioner of Police. I've established something called a National Security Committee. We meet every week. The Minister of Public Security, Prime Minister, Commissioner of Police, Chief of Staff, myself, Minister of State, Minister of Legal Affairs. We have also approached the British government to restore the Security Sector Reform Action Plan, and we've discussed with the Commissioner a scheme by which more policemen could be put on the ground. Right now, by my calculation, the police force is about 20% on the strength. We need to bring it up to strength, and in due course, we need to pay them better and ensure that they have the equipment to do their work. We've already arranged for the commander of F Division. That whole area west of Essequibo is one police division. He used to be located in Rabbit Walk in Ivleary in Kingston, and he by now should be relocated to Bartica. We've got to give him boats, we've got to give him access to aircraft. If he's to do his job, he has to have ATVs so that he can go into these very communities that you're speaking about to extend the long arm of the law, particularly to protect women and children. So it is a work in progress. We need police reform, we need more equipment, we need to ensure that our police officers have the resources to visit aircraft and boats to visit these communities in order to respond to calls for help from the communities and also to be a deterrent. So the people who are committing these crimes would know that the law is going to be on them not within a week or two, but within an hour or two. And I think that will bring a halt to it. So we have a plan for hinterland security, and it is linked to police reform, security sector reform.
Thank you, sir.
Kurt, you have the final one on this segment.
All right. Mr. President, you spoke about seeking international help as you move forward with transforming the country's infrastructure. Could you say to what extent are you prepared to use foreign expertise to do the physical work as opposed to what we have right here at home?
It will be inevitable. As you know, my own education policy is to train more scientists. Even recently I visited President's College. I look at the laboratories. I've emphasized what is called STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But it will take a very long time for Guyana to produce enough engineers to do the road building, bridge building, which needed in the hinterland. So yes, there must be foreign engineers, but we hope that there's going to be a high level of technology transfer. So rather than people just coming in, doing a job and going out, we hope that young engineers, Guyanese workers would be able to understudy them and eventually build these structures themselves. We would like to see that when the Demerara Harbour Bridge is built, and I hope it's going to be built within the next 5 years, that there are Guyanese engineers working and gaining experience. An engineer is like a doctor. You can't take a person out of university and put him to build a bridge. You know. Similarly, you have a doctor has to do an internship, engineers have to do internship. So you're looking at a middle to long-term plan. Yes? The answer is yes, we want Guyanese engineers to help to open up this country.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Ladies and gentlemen, you are free to now move on to other questions, and I'd like to begin with you this time, Kurt.
Thanks. Mr. President, if I could jump straight to your recent visit to Saudi Arabia. There are questions in the air regarding Saudi Arabia financing your trip. If you could provide an explanation to that, and also talk if you know if similar courtesies were extended to any other person attending that summit.
You know, we were provided with an aircraft, courtesy of the King of Saudi Arabia. And in fact, we got in quite late, and without that aircraft, we would not have been able to get there in time because of the distance. So yes, it's no secret. The aircraft was provided by the King of Saudi Arabia. It took us from Georgetown, more or less directly, as one stop to Riyadh, and brought us back very early this morning.
If I could follow up on your same visit to Saudi Arabia, could you also outline what your specific agenda was at the summit and tell us whether you've been able to fulfill what you had set out?
Our agenda is determined by our membership of UNASUR to some extent. The meeting concerned ASPA, which is the Arab South America Summit. It was established about 12 years ago on the initiative of the President of Brazil, President Inácio Lula da Silva. And it is a very unique international organization bringing together 14 states on the South American continent and about 24 states in 24 Arab states. The intention is to make a contribution to world peace, to peacefully resolve conflicts, and to, by meeting every 2 or 3 years to resolve problems, both developmental and strategic problems, problems that affect security. So, for example, the communique, when you see the communique, you see that there are references to Palestine, to Syria, to Libya, Iraq. So we also have our concerns in the South American continent. So we went there as a South American state, and we went there to build bridges between South America and the Arab states and open doors. And I would say that we were able to open windows to possible membership of the organization with the Islamic Development Bank. We've already had talks here, and also, as you know, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation. So we feel that these initiatives will be good for Guyana, they'll be good for South America, and they'll be good for the world, because we're enlarging the area of peace. More and more states interested in peace. It means when we go to the United Nations, we'll be able to coordinate our positions better. I'm not saying this has happened, but I'm saying this is a step in that direction.
Beverley?
Mr. President, if we may continue on that visit of yours. There was a proposal from President Maduro to sort of cap the oil price at about $80 per barrel. What are your views on that sort of manipulation of the open market?
I don't think that is going to happen. It is in Mr. Maduro's interest, because Venezuela is a major petroleum producer and exporter. And these prices are not determined by diktat, they're not determined by imposition by any one government, they're determined by demand and supply. And this is exactly what has happened. If the demand falls, the price will fall. And you can't inflate the price, by some arbitrary decision. What has been happening too is that many countries, or many parts of countries, have been converting to other forms of energy, solar energy, wind, hydro. So, any commodity, including petroleum, is going to be subject to fluctuations. We've suffered when people stopped using sugar and started using artificial sweeteners. People stopped using rice and started using some other cereal. Once you're producing commodities, you'll be subject to market fluctuations, and this is exactly what has happened to petroleum. I can't say more than that, but it's not going to happen. What Mr. Maduro wishes is not going to happen. I can say that.
And if I might follow on the development bank that was proposed, your views on that, sir? Can Guyana benefit from such an arrangement?
Internally or externally?
Both.
Internally, we had development banks before. I do believe it's desirable. We are looking at the mechanics of having that type of development bank again. We cannot guarantee our farmers, particularly paddy farmers, stable prices without a mechanism, because again, like other commodities, the price will fluctuate. If people feel like eating rice, they eat rice. If they don't feel like eating rice, they won't buy rice. And we've had problems with the Venezuelan market. There are other producers around the world. Vietnam, they're very aggressive producers, massive producers of these commodities. So we feel that the development bank will be able, particularly an agri-development bank, industrial development bank, will be able to iron out some of the unevenness in prices. I would support it, yes, but sometimes in these banks there's a very high rate of default. Because sometimes farmers fail, and in fact there have been situations in some countries in which farmers who have taken too heavy loans have committed suicide because they can't pay back. So we have to be very careful, but yes, I'm in favor of development bank, because agriculture in Guyana is now at that stage in which it needs capital financing if it's to succeed.
Court, you're free to go.
Mr. President, in another 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you will be leaving Ghana to attend the Commonwealth Heads of Government in Malta. Could you also speak to your agenda? I know you would obviously be seeking solidarity as relates to the Ghana-Venezuela controversy. But outside of that, what other issues are you going to the conference to raise?
That is the issue as far as Guyana is concerned. That is the priority matter, because I am concerned about small states. The majority of states in the Commonwealth are small states. What you call micro, some are mini states. Guyana, with a population of fewer than a million, is regarded as a small state, or even a micro state. So that is my agenda, pure and simple. There are other issues, you know, to deal with global warming, you know, because we are susceptible to, you know, flooding because of the rising sea levels. And several of the island states of the Commonwealth, particularly in the Pacific, are vulnerable to rising sea levels. But our main concern would be the security of this country. After 50 years, we are entitled to you know, develop our hinterland. And the biggest threat to our development is the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Beverley, it seems Court doesn't have a follow-up, so it's over to you again, Beverley.
Thank you, Malika. Mr. President, if I may take you back to hinterland development, are there plans to bridge the Essequibo River anytime soon?
All I can say at this stage is that there are intentions. A plan means it is a beginning, a middle, and an end. Money is being provided, workers, contract has been written and all that. There's no plan, but we intend, we have to bridge the river, possibly at the area of Kurapakari. It depends on the alignment of the Linden-Lethem Road. But yes, that is necessary. A bit high up, but there's no plan to bridge it lower down. You know, if you're thinking of driving across the Supernam, no, there's no plan for that at all. It will be high up to get to the to Region 8 and Region 9. It wouldn't be taking you to Region 2.
No. Oh, thank you, sir.
That's serious money.
Serious, exactly.
Court, if you're ready again.
If I could ask specific about the Ghana-Venezuela border controversy, as you responded in your last question. The United Nations team visited Ghana, and I know that the Ghana government would have been in contact with that team after they would have left. Could you provide any update on how the investigation is progressing as it relates to resolving?
Well, we have cooperated with Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. I met him in July in Barbados. I met him again in September in New York. He passed through here, as you know, last month. Briefly, he met the foreign minister. He was in Riyadh, but we missed him by a few minutes. And we are committed to the UN process. I do feel that he would like to bring about a solution, but as far as we are concerned, the matter was resolved in 1899, 116 years ago, and Venezuela has claimed that the award was void. It was a nullity. And our position is, give us evidence that it's a nullity. And Venezuela has never advanced any evidence that the award is void. And the Guyanese people must know that Venezuela got over 13,000 square kilometers of land in 1899. Guyana lost land. So if it's a nullity, it means they must give us back the land and let us go back to the drawing board. But Venezuela is not prepared to do that. Venezuela is keeping pressure on us for 50 years. So we have made a decision as a nation state to seek a juridical or judicial settlement. And the Secretary General knows this, but the teams that have come here have taken evidence. One team flew over some parts of the Essequibo. They can go to Bartica. They can see that is in occupation of the Guyana government. There are no Venezuelans there. You know, there's no rivalry between the two countries. It's our territory. So we are satisfied that the two visits by the teams appointed by the Secretary General saw the evidence that the Western Essequibo is fully occupied, beneficially occupied by the Guyana government. There are no empty spots. As you know, Venezuela challenged the the GINA Goldfields Incorporated, which has got an enterprise in the middle of the CUNY. And they know very well it's our territory. So as far as we're concerned, the United Nations team sent down by the Secretary General will report what they saw. And we are prepared to abide by the process that he has outlined. And if there is no solution, because he's not a dictator, if there's no solution in accordance with the Charter of the United Nations, we'll go to court.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, we just have a few more moments left, and I can only allow one final question. But Kurt, if you have a follow-up, I'll allow it.
I was going to ask what specific importance is it that Venezuela agrees to Guyana's call for a judicial settlement?
Venezuela has not agreed. Venezuela seems to put emphasis on referring to the Geneva Agreement of 1966, which simply calls for the search for a peaceful solution. But we felt that that has been achieved in 1899. So nothing that we have done is not in accord with the 1966 Geneva Agreement. We have submitted to the United Nations. We are not the ones who sent a warship into Venezuelan waters. We are not the ones who are threatening investment in Venezuela. We've been the victims of 50 years of Venezuelan oppression and aggression, and it has to come to an end. So we are on the side of right, and we expect that when this process comes to an end, future generations of Guyanese will not have to put up with what we put up with for the last 50 years.
Beverley, the final one from you.
Mr. President, did you use your visit to Saudi Arabia to raise this issue and to seek support for Guyana? The border controversy. Did you raise it in Saudi Arabia?
No, it wasn't that type of forum, but I spoke of peace several times, and I spoke of the need to settle international controversies by peaceful means. So it was not a type of forum, it was not a confrontational forum, it was more or less a consensual forum. And several times in my remarks I referred to the need for a peaceful resolution of international disputes.
And on that note, we must close today's program. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. President of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana, His Excellency Brigadier David Granger. Thank you to you, Beverley Alert, and thank you also, Kurt Campbell. This has been another edition of The Public Interest. I'm Malika Ramsey. Join us again next time.